How you guys doing? John, Indoor Hydroponics. Welcome back. This is the final grow of the year 2020. It's what a year it's been. So what I got in the pot there is 3 Tabasco pepper plants. And in the 5-gallon pot, we have a really high quality potting mix from Fox Farms. We also have some high quality cow manure, earthworm castings, and some organic fertilizers from Fox Farms. I use, for the most part, cavern culture, which is high in phosphorus and potash. I do feed these things a lot with compost tea. Big fan of compost tea. Here we are at about the week 6 mark from plant out. Plants look absolutely phenomenal. We've got really green leaves, a little bit of production towards the bottom, but this is a long growing pepper plant. It's a tropical plant. I live in Michigan. We have about 3.5 to 4 months of hot weather to produce peppers, which I thought would be enough to get me to harvest. And boy, am I glad again that I planted it out in a 5-gallon pot and made these things mobile. These things get absolutely huge. 5-gallon pot, it was completely root bound. I can't imagine how big and bushy these things get in ground if you live in a tropical location. But again, I have to stress this. I can't stress that enough. This is a long growing season plant. Here we are at about 2.5 months, going on 3 months. Lots of production starting to take place in terms of pods. Nothing at all remotely close to red, mimicking a Tabasco pepper. So it's a long growing season again. So I start off every year with kind of a plant that I haven't grown before. I do a lot of research on it. And outside of the fact of I absolutely love Tabasco sauce and the simplicity of it, it's 3 ingredients really to make it, but there is a process to make it. We'll get to that towards the end of the video. But in doing research for Tabasco, there's a misconception that this is a made in America kind of a thing. Avery Island in Louisiana, if you were to ask people in the South or maybe even America where all the plants, peppers, and production comes from, they'll probably tell you Avery Island in Louisiana. Well, that's partially true. All of the seed stock is grown on the island, and then the seeds are saved, dried out, and sent throughout the world in tropical climates. Primarily third world countries. For cheap labor, they grow these things, they pick them by hand, and then they ship all of it back to Avery Island. And from there, they create the mash, they ferment the mash, and then they make the Tabasco. And again, it's a long, drawn-out process, but not a big fan of sending plants for cheap labor out just to get it back. So that was kind of my motivation for wanting to grow some Tabasco and doing it myself. Here we are at the tail end of the summer. Had to bring the plants inside, guys, because it started to get cold and put so much into growing these things. I just didn't want to give up on them. Brought them inside. Plants are really healthy and happy. Put them under some LED lights. I think I was at 14 hours a day on those on the timer. Kept them good and watered. And then, once they were all ripe, I cut the water back. There's a reason I did that. One is that it dries out the plant, intensifies the flavor of those peppers, and it makes harvesting a little bit easier. It still took me a couple hours to harvest the whole plant, but nonetheless, here's what we ended up with. And here's where we start the process of fermenting these things, guys. Lots of peppers there, but in Avery Island, there is a long drawn-out process to ferment these peppers. They give them a unique taste, intensifies the flavor, and basically you want to create your mash first, and that's what I'm doing here. All that's in there is some distilled water, peppers, and kosher salt, or coarse sea salt, I'm sorry. And you develop like this pasty type mixture that is a mash. I'm going to continue out with the rest of the peppers, put them in there. And here's what we ended up with all the peppers. So just the intense smell that comes off of that, guys, be ready to sneeze and burn your nose out. 32 ounce jar here. I've got some parchment paper over the top. In Avery Island, they ferment these things in oak barrels for 3 years. We're not going to do that. Got a ring on it really loosely, poked a couple of holes on it so that the gases from the fermentation could vent out. In Avery Island, when they're aging these things, they top the barrels with a large layer of salt, so I kind of mimic that. What that does is it still allows the gases to come out, but no oxygen to go in, so we're going to mimic that. These I'm going to put up for 3 months as opposed to 3 years. Should get some good fermentation there, and then we can come back. I'll post a second video in about 3 months of how to finish making Tabasco sauce. Guys, it's going to be awesome. There is enough mash there for gallons of Tabasco sauce. I'll have Tabasco sauce for years. So guys, come back in about 3 months. Hope you guys are happy, healthy, safe, and I'll be posting some indoor videos soon with hydroponics. Thanks, guys. Bye.